Real quick before we get into the review, just gotta thank the people over on Patreon, because without their support, a lot of this upgraded content you see on the channel would not be possible. And I gotta say, on top of being able to respond to you guys in the DMs, you know, one of the fun things about the Patreon is every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul, and there's a lot of good goodies in that one. You also get sneak peeks at videos that haven't made their way onto the channel yet. I'm still figuring out what to do for actual YouTube memberships, so leave a suggestion down in the comment section below. But with that being said, thank you so much for all of you guys' support, and now let's get into the review. Yo, what's up everybody, it's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto episode 194, and now that episode 194 is done and in the books, we got a couple of things to address about this episode. So the very first thing is I've seen a few people say that they think that this week's episode and next week's episode are going to be filler episodes because it's a bit more of a slowed down type of a feel because Kawaki's living with Naruto, and what I can tell you is that this week and next week are manga canon episodes, so this is something that does progress the actual story. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of this episode review. So I think that they did a good job when it comes to kind of setting up the Boruto and Kawaki relationship, and I like how one of the very first things that you actually see in this dynamic between the two of them is that Boruto is a very understanding character when he needs to be, and the Boruto and Kawaki relationship, I've seen people say that this is going to be a Naruto and Sasuke repeat, and I actually saw the homie for Neverworld say something that I actually agree with, which is the way that they're doing Boruto and Kawaki's relationship when you compare it to part 1 of Naruto with Naruto and Sasuke. Boruto and Kawaki are actually being developed in a superior way. That's probably going to trigger some folks, but as you see the way that everything starts unfolding between their relationship, I think that a lot of you guys are going to agree with that if you take off the nostalgia blinders. And I think that that one moment right here where you see them after they get to swapping hands and Kawaki's over there looking at Boruto and getting triggered, I guess Boruto had a bigger Uzumaki ramen doodle than him, but the fact is that after they get to swapping hands, you get this hilarious moment where Naruto, he's trying to take a dump, can't take a dump, and he's using a shadow clone in order to break up everything. But what you see in this episode though is Boruto and Kawaki, they have a moment where Kawaki feels comfortable enough around Boruto to where he actually opens up to him. That was the whole purpose of this episode, was to get Kawaki to actually lower his guard, and you can tell that to a certain extent Naruto actually planned for this. And what I like in that moment right there is when Naruto's just kind of sitting back and he's looking at Boruto and Kawaki and kind of eavesdropping in on him, and Naruto has a smile on his face. That's the smile of somebody who anticipated that Boruto is going to have enough of an effect on Kawaki because of them being so similar in age together, that Kawaki would open up and Naruto by extension would be able to learn something without actually violating Kawaki's trust. And so I thought that that was kind of cool right there. So what they actually showed you, again, this is a flashback from the manga, but I like how they added a few extra details in there, and there's actually a scene in there that directly ties into what's going on in the manga right now, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't recall them saying that, oh, we got 3 candidates left, now we have 2 candidates. That's huge because only 2 people survive when Jigen's trying to give that karma seal to everybody. And what I like here, what I really like here is the fact that you see a couple of other bits of foreshadowing where Jigen tells Amato like, yo, you got time to wait, but we don't have time to wait. That is a huge line. That is a huge line right there. I thought that that was kind of slick how the anime kind of slipped that in there right there. Like if you're a manga reader, you know what we refers to. If you're an anime only fan, that's something to where you need to keep your eyes on that. So I thought that that was really interesting. They put that there. I thought it was cool how they also have those moments where you see the irritation on Jigen's face, where Jigen is kicking containers after he ends up killing one of the children, and he looks over at Kawaki saying, well, you won't fail me either. And I've seen a few people nitpick over the differences where in the manga the lines on Jigen's face weren't as high as they are in the anime. I'm totally okay with it because number one, this is an outsourced episode. This was not Studio Pierrot that did the episode, but the other thing is that's a minor change. I'm not gonna get upset over some lines being too high up. I mean, that's just me personally. But what I will say though is I like how you just see that growth in Kawaki as a character, because all throughout the episodes, you see that he's somebody that's actually seen real carnage and real chaos. And for him, trusting people, it isn't necessarily that it's because he's been through too much, but it's because he has no faith in humanity. He's been broken to that extent. And you see it in the very small things where you start to see the layers begin to start peeling off on him, where when he gets to walking out and he pushes Naruto aside, you know, Hinata asks him like, hey, what do you want me to make you for dinner? I saw that you were not sure if you could eat breakfast with us. I can make whatever it is that you like. And I like how Hinata is trying to reach out through kindness right there. I thought that that was kind of cool. And you get this moment to where Kawaki, I believe that he knows that Hinata's being sincere, and he says like, nobody's ever asked me before what it is that I like to eat. That lets you know how Kara treated him. So I thought that that was kind of interesting that you had that moment right there. And then when you transition over, you see how Boruto's training with Team 7, and you just see how Boruto, he's completely not focused. And Sarada calls him out on, she actually teases him a little bit by saying, well, I guess he isn't that bad then, is he? And Sarada also has a real line. You know, she says like, look, he might be too dangerous for us to allow to stay inside of the village. If that's the case, maybe we should have him kept under surveillance outside of the village. So, you know, Sarada's more so thinking along the same lines as Shikamaru. So I thought that that was kind of cool to actually see that bit of Sarada right there, because it's showing you more so of the analytical side of her character. But what I will say though is that I like how with Boruto, you see in a very subtle way that like Boruto, yeah, Kawaki gets under his nerves, but it's more so because he doesn't really know how to actually extend that olive branch to him as well. And it's like Naruto said, you know, Boruto's a very stubborn character. And so once he has it in his head that, you know, it's F you, he's kind of the same way on Kawaki, where like, hey, yo, you hurt my sister's feelings, I can't be cool with you now. Like, it's some immature stuff, don't get me wrong, but you gotta keep in mind, Boruto at this point, he's 12. You know, me being somebody that's in my late 20s, I know that when I was 12 years old, I could be an immature little brat. So I can kind of understand where Boruto's coming from on that aspect right there. But I like how, you know, you get that, and then you also get the moment where as Naruto's watching Kawaki, he's also in the Hokage office, and you get the extra lines of dialogue in there to where they're setting up what's inevitably going to be a huge moment when we find out what's in those scrolls that Konohamaru was able to get, because we find out that the Hidden Leaf Village, even with all their advanced technology, they can't actually crack the encryption yet. And they're talking about how the Kara organization is far more advanced than anything that they themselves are actually able to do in the actual village, which that's a huge testament to Amato as a scientist. And what I like right there is the fact that, you know, Naruto kind of doubles down on and tells Shikamaru, like, look, you're calling me naive, but I'm going to get this kid to open up to me. And when I get him to open up to me, we're going to get a plethora of information right there. And it's because Naruto understands that pain of loneliness that Kawaki's going through right now. So I thought that that was kind of cool to see how, you know, Naruto's once again kind of doubling down on himself. And there's actually a really cool Easter egg there where you see Kawaki when he's laying down at the riverbank side, and you see Naruto watching him. It's the same thing that happened when Sasuke was kind of sitting there. So I like how they kind of played with that aspect right there, where it's just like, wait a second, he's in the same place where Sasuke was. He's in the exact same place. Naruto's watching over him like that, but if you know the Kawaki character, you know that he's not a Sasuke 2.0. So I like how they kind of tease that little moment right there. And what I will say is that I did think that they were going to add more to the Boruto versus Kawaki stuff at the very beginning, but I understand why they didn't necessarily do that. You know, it's kind of cool to see the brief action sequences where, you know, they have their back and forth and they begin to fight, but, you know, by giving us the flashback and giving us the extra conversation with Boruto and Kawaki. I thought that that was kind of cool, just how they kind of did that, and the whole thing where they're eating from the pot, and they have the moment where, you know, you see how Kawaki's looking over at Himawari, and he can just tell that, like, to a certain extent, you know, Himawari is still kind of upset over that vase, but she's doing the same thing that Hinata and Naruto did, which is she's putting it behind her. And what I like in that moment right there is that, you know, you see another side of Himawari as well. It's just one of those things to where you're seeing the family aspect. And I know for me, one thing that really resonated with me when I saw Kawaki, and it felt like he was, you know, struggling to be able to actually adapt to being in that setting right there, is, you know, I've had those moments where, you know, for me, I wasn't used to sitting down at a dinner table eating with people. Like stuff like that, you know, when I actually sat down with an actual family and was actually sitting there and watching how they asked how the day went, and seeing how just as Naruto is having fun with his kids and everything, it freaked me out for a second and it threw me off. And it's the same thing you see there. Kawaki doesn't necessarily know how to actually adapt to that, and you see it when he's laying down and he's saying, like, what is this smell? What is this smell that I'm smelling? This blanket's so warm, and he's getting comfortable. He's allowing himself to open up, but at the same time, he's still a little bit of a fish out of water right there. So I thought that that was nice to see that aspect of Kawaki. They're actually doing a really good job of fleshing the character out. But, you know, overall, I mean, this was an okay episode by Boruto anime standards. It wasn't something super complex. Nice character development episode. You know, my episode question to you guys is, now that you've learned more about Kawaki's past, if you're an anime only fan, how are you enjoying what they're doing with Kawaki as a character? And if you're a manga fan, what more would you like to see them add in this downtime that we're gonna have in the next episode, maybe episode and a half, of seeing Kawaki just being able to be in the village and assimilate? What would you like to see them specifically do with Kawaki as a character? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Have an awesome day, guys.